One of the things that you want to make sure that you don't do while you're inside prison is to annoy your parole officer. I know that while you're inside, you may have lots and lots of questions. And sure, when you meet up with your parole officer, it's the perfect time to ask all those questions. But sometimes you may forget to ask them everything, right? So after the meeting, you're like, oh shit, I gotta call my parole officer again to ask her this and this and this, right? So she meets up with you again and you ask her your questions, and then you're done the meeting and then you realize, oh my goodness, I have more questions to ask her, right? Or sometimes you just may want constant updates about what's going on with your status, right? And, inmates have a bad habit of doing this all the time. They contact their parole officers way too much and they get annoyed. They do. Both people actually get annoyed. The parole officer starts getting annoyed and the inmate gets annoyed too, right? But the inmate's only annoyed because the parole officer is starting to meet up with him less and less. She's starting to be more reluctant to meet up with that inmate because he's just annoying her so much. So if you annoy your parole officer enough, he or she will start working against you. Or she just may not work for you at all, right? Because you have to realize that they're only human too, so they get annoyed like the rest of us. And if you annoy them enough, then they're just not going to do anything for you, right? Like, I've seen cases where parole officers forgot to file for a parole hearing for the people's dates. So most people are eligible after certain months, right? If you're only doing 2 years, you're eligible to apply for parole after 6 or 7 months. Well, parole officers just don't do it. If they don't like you, they'll just not do anything. They'll just stall, right? Or sometimes when you want to leave the prison to do activities like go to church, volunteer, or whatever other activities your prison may provide, your parole officer has to sign you off every time you leave the prison. And if they don't like you, they will just forget to sign you off. And so while everyone's gone having fun, you're stuck because your parole officer forgot to sign you off, right? And she only forgot because you annoyed her too much. So she doesn't want to do anything for you anymore, right? So yeah, don't annoy your parole officer.